What's going on, everybody? My name is Mr. Crippled, and today we're going to be doing a live reaction to the Kali patch. Now, before you get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving a link to my Twitch and my Discord in the description below. Now, this is a live video that I'm doing right now, so everything that I'm going to be talking about is going to be done in front of a couple people, albeit, but it's live nonetheless. So I'm going to be making some mistakes, so I can't speak. But I did already see a couple of the things that is going to be going on with this patch, especially some buffs that were very questionable to me. But I want to go ahead and just like talk about everything. First and foremost, Kali, the big thing, the newest god that's coming into Smite. Well, not new, but yeah, like I said, newest. She is coming in with hybrid scaling. She has this new ability called Rupture, that does affect how much she gets back as far as healing goes. That directly affects her 3. I'll do a more in-depth guide with this character once she officially comes out on Monday. Um, but for now, just know that she seems very strong. It seems as though a lot of people are trying to build her intelligence. Those could just be troll videos, especially weekend. So further testing is definitely going to be needed, considering that she's always been an auto attack god, but with the hybrid scalings, that could completely change her kit and how she works and what you want to play off of when it comes to her kit. So this is going to be very interesting to dive into. Obviously they had to come in with the new skins. Pele's getting a new skin. This skin is kind of fire. I'm not gonna lie, I like this skin. Some other classic skins are coming back from Smite 1. Prisms are still in the game, where some of those base skins can get extra colors depending on which one that you wanted to purchase. Marlin's getting a skin. There's a bunch of new stuff. Also, supporter start items. This is just mainly for cosmetics. You really don't need to worry about this part, so just ignore this. All right. So, big thing that's coming into Smite that's one of the big things that I want to talk about is the God Builder. If you don't know what this is, basically before you go into any match, you can go to a specific god and you can set up a pre-build before you go in. And you can also look at other people's builds, copy them, put them on other gods, and kind of just play around with the cards that you have. This is a nice addition. However, me just being cynical, I've this kind of thing has been in Smite 1. Yes, this has gotten some updates to it, which is very much appreciated. And I do appreciate the work that HiRez is putting in. But I feel like people are giving too much praise for this. I feel like even though this is open beta and people are going to keep throwing that in my face, this should have been part of the base game regardless. But either way, it is a very welcome addition, and I really do enjoy this. Makes it to where a lot of people kind of just pre-build before games, because I know building on their own during the heat of the moment can be very stressful, and not a lot of people can manage to do that. So having this as kind of like a backup to help train that reactiveness to things is definitely going to help. Um, you can also have the build saved to the store as well. So whenever you open up your game or you first go into your games, you'll be able to directly pull from that build. So this is honestly a very nice change. Okay, so now this is where I kind of skimmed over, so this is going to be kind of new for me. So for Conquest, the biggest mode that I play, a new feature, Firebrands. Firebrands offer a way for junglers, solo laners, and mid laners to gain incremental power. I think I remember reading a bit of this. Basically, there are many minions that spawn at the fire giant, kind of similar to what happened in Smite 1. And these do give you fire giant embers if you kill them, and they you can pick them up pretty early. So if you and the jungler as a solo laner can control that point, this could be very good buffs to help you get an even bigger lead. Keep in mind that there is two, and killing one makes the other one stronger, and they respawn every 2 minutes. So you can farm these for basically the first 10 minutes of the game, I believe. I think that's when Fire Giant first spawns in, and then after that, Fire Giant will replace the Firebrand, and you'll no longer be able to get them. So this is a limited item. So having control of the jungle and control of solo lane and being in tandem with your jungler or with your solo lane is going to be very important to help both of you get ahead. Um, the solo lane aspect of it, you can already get really far ahead if you play it right and you know how to farm properly. This just kind of puts more emphasis on that lead you can have, or it can get the person who is behind a way to kind of balance the scales for him. So this is actually uh a very nice thing to have. So next thing, um fire giant, you no longer get you get less strength and less intelligence from this now. So killing the fire giant, you won't get as much power. I think this is nice, to be honest, because lately when the enemy team has been getting Fire Giant, if both teams are on equal playing fields, let's say they're both equal skill, this Fire Giant, as much as it's supposed to be a turnaround and a hey, we're in the lead kind of thing, it almost does feel impossible to fight the enemy team with Fire Giant. Like you almost had to give up objectives every single time they have it if the full team has Fire Giant. So giving them less damage, that way you can kind of fight them back, is something that's nice to have. I can't wait to see what this is going to actually be. So they reworked the totem. The totem of Ku, I believe, is the totem that you have in solo lane, that totem that spawns in that gives everybody gold and buffs the minion. So let's see what they're going to do with this. So we would disable the bonus minion effect on the totem and instead replace it with the stacking cooldown rate bonus. This reward will be available to grab from the first totem spawned and onwards. Totem of Ku no longer grants a buff to the minions in each lane. Totem of Ku now grants a permanent +1 cooldown rate to the player who contributed the most damage to capturing the totem. This only includes players on the team that captured the totem objective. This is fucking huge. This is actually insane. More cooldowns for capturing that totem. This totem never leaves. This totem never leaves. The second it spawns, it's always going to be spawning in. Like, I believe every minute or so. Roughly around there. +1 cooldown rate, that's insane. So in 25 minutes, you can have 25 extra cooldown rate if your solo is controlling it. This is really good. Well, not your team, but you as the player. So this is going to make tanks a lot more difficult to deal with. Because the meta build for solo lane right now is shield splitter, I believe the card is called, into Mystic Mail. And so you sacrifice a lot of cooldowns at the beginning of the game for just straight up just tankiness and a little bit of damage. But this will actually give you CDR, which will mask the downside to the build. Slightly, honestly, albeit slightly for the first couple minutes. But after a while, this stacks up. And then if your mage starts rotating for you to solo, to start capturing that totem for you so he can get more CDR instead rather than you, which is going to be way more important for your mid laner to have that, this is game changing. I think the meta is going to end up shifting to where the mid laner is going to start rotating over to solo to help him secure that totem and to do the most damage to it so he at least gets more CDR every time he rotates. You know what I'm saying? So I can see this completely changing the meta. This is cool. I like this. Okay, so jungler timers update. Smite 1 players will recognize how this feature works. For new players joining Smite 2, here's a breakdown of how the new timers work. Jungler timers will now have 2 states. If an enemy did not witness a camp being cleared, they will have no knowledge of when a camp will spawn. This means that the enemy will see an empty camp on the minimap with no respawn timer. If an enemy did witness a camp being cleared, they will see the respawn timer for that camp as normal. This means that the enemy is fully aware of when a camp will respawn. This is nice. So, if you don't know what this means, basically, from a solo laner aspect, I'm pretty sure you've seen people steal blue. If you go over there after the blue has been taken, but you didn't see them take it, you will not know when your buff will respawn. You will just have to wait for the circle to fully fill, and then or basically you just have to get the notification that that bar is fully full, and then you can go clear the buff camp. This is nice because it makes it to where it's harder for the enemy team to keep track on your own buff, or it makes it harder for your enemy team to keep track of their own buff if you're stealing it. So this is a nice change. It's a minor change, and not a lot of people are gonna like really take this into account. But this for junglers and even people who like to invade, this is gonna be very huge. Wind sprites, I kind of already saw this. They're just reducing the amount that's on the map. These are funny. I love using these. They are a pain in the ass, but these are funny. Okay, so minions will clear faster, which is nice. They removed the anti-magic shield from Brooch, which is nice. Gold Fury update, leadership aura, reduced damage reduction granted to minions from 30% to 15%, which is good. Reduced bonus power granted to minions from 25% to 15%. Again, this is good. Titan update, increase the amount of stats Titan gains from tier 2 towers. This is nice. This makes it so if you don't know what this does, if you don't feel like reading all this, basically what this means is that if you haven't taken all of the enemy team's towers, the Titan is going to be tankier, and by a huge margin. So it makes it to where comebacks can be a little harder if you've been getting pressed the whole game and you haven't been able to take towers, or if you're the one pressing but you haven't taken objectives, it's going to force you to have to take those T2 towers. So this is nice. I don't think it's going to be absolutely huge, but you are going to feel a difference in being able to take the Titan early. The team gold rewards, if your team is behind in team gold on the scoreboard, all structures and neutral boss towers will award your team bonus gold up to 65% of the objective's value. How much bonus gold your team gets depends on how far your team is, up to a maximum of 8,000 gold behind. This mapping is exponential, so the bonus gold, while only slightly behind, is meager, and while moderately behind, is still fairly small. This is nice. This makes it to where if your team groups up and they focus down, I know you've had those matches to where you feel like you're going to lose and there's those two people who don't want to surrender. So if you're forced to stay in those games and you're forced to, like, lock in, it makes it to where getting those objectives, if you're behind, is going to award you more. That way you can close that gap a little easier. And now, First Blood changes. I remember this. This is a revert. This is nice. First Blood now grants 200 gold instead of 75. So people who are awarded for getting those First Bloods early are actually going to get rewarded rather than just getting this little 75. Because 200 gold can help you finish a card. 75 gold is only going to get you a award, which is basically nothing. So you feel like you're not getting rewarded for being the first person to get a kill. This is nice. And then Assault Meditation can now be sold. Cool. God Balance. This is probably going to be my favorite part of the video. I remember seeing this. Someone told this to me in one of my Discords. I do not know why we are nerfing Cupid. They took away half of his scaling. Nobody uses this character. Nobody uses this character. At all. I think a dev just got beat up by a Cupid one day and then decided, you know what? Fuck this character. We're going to nerf him. Nobody uses Cupid. I have not seen anybody use Cupid. I use Cupid, but I use him for solo with the aspect. So, I don't know why they're nerfing him. Because he already got reduced scaling with this aspect on anyway. So the one wasn't even hitting that hard to begin with. Now it's doing less. They're basically giving him the Fenrir treatment. Because Fenrir got nerfed. And the aspect for him, if he had it on, made it to where his 3 did absolutely no damage. And this is basically what they're doing to Cupid. So I don't agree with this. I think this is dumb. Sobek is getting a shift, aspect of prey. Basically they're making the one hit harder. If you don't know what the aspect for Sobek does, it basically changes. The first big thing is that the pluck, his 1, no longer plucks people backwards, but instead pushes them forward. And then the 3 will get reduced healing, but can now the cooldowns can be reduced on it if you hit jungle minions. It is the worst aspect in the game, bar none. It is actually the worst aspect in the game. I thought it was for Nuno's. No, this is the worst aspect in the game. And making it do more damage. And then... okay. I hate Sobek, but why? You know what? This is nice. I like the fact that the ult is doing less damage. I like that. Because the ult did not need to be doing that much damage in the first place. Keeping it as an execute, okay. But doing 900 base is actually ridiculous. So reducing it down to 780, that's nice. This feels like a baby nerf. I will take it, but this feels like a baby nerf. Yamoja. Aspect of Downpour. Nobody uses this because they nerfed the crap out of what made it fun. But basically, your 1 will hit harder now, which is nice. Okay. If you were carried by the aspect when it was broke, this will still kind of make it to where it's useful, but I don't know how it seems because nobody's playing her. Hercules getting a buff, my boy. Mitigate wounds will now gain extra protections, an extra 5, which is nice. Plus 20% of your protections. This is huge. Hercules is going to be tanky as hell. He's going to be one of the tankiest gods in the game. And then Excavate, increase base damage Okay, so it hits harder early, but does less damage later, which is nice. Not less damage later. It does the same damage later. So it just helps your early game, which is nice. I like that. On her buff, Impale, increased scaling, so this will hit harder, and it has 1 second less cooldown. This is big. Disperse, increased base damage. Disperse is his leap, I believe. So it does 20 more points of damage at all ranks. Okay, so they're rewarding you for being more aggressive with this character, which is nice because on her is meant. Uh, a lot of people when they first see on her, they think his run move, his leap is meant to be used to run. It's actually meant to engage. On her is a very aggressive god, especially with how his passive works and the impale. So rewarding you harder for being more aggressive is nice. I like this. That's a burrow buff. I like this too. His heal is bigger by 5 at all ranks. Nikki Trickery, base damage gained from attacking out of leaf form early. Ooh. Okay, so the bonus damage you get from off your next auto from coming out of your 3 or being in your leaf form gets an extra 15 points of damage at all ranks. Ugh, he's gonna hit hard. Okay. Neath buff. This is another thing that I saw. Backflip. I'll have to talk about this. The last video yesterday that I made with the people who are carried for playing Neath, this is stupid. And one of the things that one of my people in my Discord had mentioned to me is that right now we're in a tank meta, so making where DPS is hit harder, it would make sense, right? And on paper, yes, that makes sense. However, metas are constantly shifting. That's one. And two, not everyone is going to be following the meta, right? Because meta is meta because it's good, it's consistent. But consistency doesn't always mean you'll win. And so you also have to look at what the character can do base without the meta as well to make these balancing changes. If you didn't know, there's a very realistic build that you can do with Neath in mid to where she can damn near one-shot you with just her 2 and her 3. Just her 2 and her 3, she can one-shot you. That doesn't include her global tracking ult, and that doesn't include her actual damaging ability, which is her 1. So, making it to where this does more damage, even if it's only by 5. 5 at level 1, and then 15 by max rank. And then reducing the cooldowns when you level this up to 13 seconds, which is nice. Because you know when you actually level this, getting cooldown reduction on this is actually nice for a run move, which is not it's nice. I like the change for the cooldowns. It's increasing the damage that I have a problem with because it makes it to where if you do that build that is realistic build, that intelligence build on her, it makes it to where it will actually one shot you now, which is ridiculous in and of itself. With just 2 abilities, that's kind of imbalanced. So this is dumb. And then finally, my favorite thing. I saw this in the Titan Talk, Agni getting an aspect that's going to turn him into an ADC. Again, I'll do a more in-depth video with this to kind of explain how this works. But basically, think of it like this. His auto attacks will do tick damage and put stacks on the enemy. And if you use your 2 or your 1, if you use your 2 or your ultimate, it will consume those stacks and do extra burst damage, which is fucking insane. So yeah, this is good. This is gonna be crazy and really fun to experiment with. Now, item balance. The only things that really there's a couple things I want to talk about because I remember seeing this in Titan Talk as well. Dominance being removed is stupid. I don't why. I don't. Again, we are in a tank meta, so instead of making it to where it's easier to deal with that, you decide to take away one of the few cards that actually does damage to tanks. And instead give us this. This is nice. Don't get me wrong. This is nice. What they said in the Titan Talk is that they wanted to make it to where counter building is more, basically more pronounced. They don't want it to where a single card is going to be always stable for everything. You need to build other things to help you deal with certain situations, i.e., for example, that they pulled up was kin size. Kin size will in most builds right now is a staple because it does damage, it has attack speed, it does health damage, so it helps you kill tanks and it helps you kill squishies. because of the amount of damage it does. So they wanted to tweak it to where now the health damage is increased, but the base damage is reduced. That way it can kill tanks, but it has a harder time killing squishies, which is nice. And so what they wanted to do when they do stuff like that is to add cards like this to fill out that imbalance, because now you need a card that's actually going to help you kill the squishies. So it gives you a whopping 50 strength and only gives you a little bit of attack speed, and then your basic attacks will do bonus damage. So you will hit harder, but you won't have enough attack. You won't have a lot of attack speed, and you won't do enough damage to tank. So you need to build other items around it to help you, basically to help you function. I agree with that sentiment to a certain point, right? It's okay for a card to have two really good stats on it. Let's just be real. Like if this card had 20% attack speed, cool, right? It would be broke. Maybe reduce this to 40, but 40 strength, 20% attack speed, and then reduce this extra bonus physical damage to maybe like 5 or 10. That way it's actually a little bit more balanced and you still get a pretty good universal card. But I think that's what they're trying to avoid. So I like the direction they're going. I just need to see what it's going to be implemented. I'm a little worried about it because it doesn't really seem like it's going to work out. And there's going to be those major tweaks again, which is going to make the game incredibly imbalanced. But I do appreciate their the balls they have for trying to go for something like this. So this is nice. I am completely gung-ho on it. I just have my reservations. Rage, if you're from Smite 1, you already know what this card does. Rage before Mercury is crazy, but hey, screw it. Rage is in the game. And then this is new. And this item is also stupid. And this kind of just shows me how much they just love mages. Because why on God's earth are they giving them a card that gives them 75 intelligence, 200 mana? It's a passive, and then enemy gods hit by your ability take 20 to 10 per level bonus magical damage, and it can only occur once every 20 seconds. But it reduces the cooldown on this by 2 for a minion kill or assist. Why? I don't even think this card's going to be good. I don't even think this card is going to be good. But why? This makes no sense. Like, why are we giving magical type characters more cards to make them more busted? Like, this is kind of stupid. So, again, I'm gung-ho for the patch, but they're making very questionable decisions. Bedcross Talon, this is going to get increased healing, which is so crazy. An extra 10% lifesteal? That's nuts. That's nice. Berserker Shield. This I saw at the Titan Talk. Basically, they made it to where this card can no longer be built by squishies anymore, because you only gain, whatchamacallit? You gain extra protections for every protection item that you have, and you gain an extra 25% attack speed. And it occurs every 8 seconds, which is kind of crazy. But instead of just giving you the protections outright, you have to get those protections from your own items. So this card is no longer going to make you super tanky, right? Plus, they reduced the attack speed on it, and they removed the health regen on it. So this card was really crazy on some auto attackers out the jungle and out of solo lane, because they could just build this with kin size and you couldn't kill them because they just gained 30 protections. So now you're struggling killing them. But now, just like Glad Shield, to get full use out of this, you need to actually be tanky. I like this change. Bloodbound Book. Remove the health on it, but increase the lifesteal. And then increase the amount of health you get, or health shield you get from this item. And they make it to where you get this more often. This card is going to be crazy. So, and they did the same thing with the physical counterpart. So, we're going to be really soon. We're going to be in a meta with tanks and an absurd amount of lifesteal. So just be 100% prepared for that. I think the only way they can counteract this is if they add in Tainted Steel to the game. That's just me, but hey, we'll see where it goes. Bloodforge, they remove the attack speed on it. They increase the lifesteal on it, and then they also, like I said, same thing. Bloodforge and Bloodbound Book, they did the same thing. They just took the attack speed away. We're gonna be hard into an attack speed meta. Book of Thoth. I also saw this. I hate this change because they did the same thing to the other stackable items. So Transcendence and Devos. It just basically gives you more stat padding and takes away the pen. And with where the game is going, oops, oh my god, where the game is going, sorry about that, where the game is going with lifesteal and tanks being as strong as they are, taking away items that give us pen is so dumb. And Jesus Christ, I did it again. Holy crap, I am so stupid. Anyway, doing this again is so dumb. I do not understand why they did this. I will never understand why you take away items that help deal with the current meta. Or at least all you had to do is just tweak it a bit. You don't need to take away outright, just tweak it. And instead they did this. I feel like they did this because they didn't want all that pen with all this mana and all this intelligence early game to do that much damage. But let's be real, you already put it in the game. Or are putting it in the game. So just commit, just let them have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this balancing just doesn't make any sense to me. I know it seems like I'm shitting on this patch. I'm really not. It's just, I personally do not understand the direction they're trying to go. And I get another reason why they probably did this is to make it to where, oh, you don't have pen on this anymore, so now you actually had to build items that give you pen. Cool, I like that change, but you had to make the changes while you're also conscious. Conscience? While you're also aware. There we go. While you're also aware of what the current meta is doing. And if the current meta is tanks, and you're taking away pen from items, that doesn't make any sense. Just add better items, or buff the items that help you deal with those meta. That's what you should be doing, right? But hey, you know what? Again, I'll see where this goes. Maybe this change is actually crazy, so we'll see. Brace of the Abyss, that attack speed card. Now you get more. I believe this passive stacks. You gain more damage out of this, more attack speed. So this is nice. There's this Hexstone. I have no idea what this is. The damage from active effect now deals 10% of your current HP as damage instead of enemies. No one builds this item. We're just gonna have to see what this is. Dagger of Frenzy. They nerfed it, but they buffed it. So you gain more attack speed for six of your basic attacks, but you do less damage. But they also reduce the cost of it. So this is still a good starting item. It just doesn't hit as hard, so you can't steamroll. But 50% attack speed, I think the damage is still going to be the same. Because while you may not be hitting harder in a single burst, you are going to be hitting just as hard in succession. So you'll be able to hit them quicker. Kind of think of it like, if you get, as crazy as it sounds, if you get hit by an RPG, let's just say you just get hit by the RPG, you just die in a quick burst. But instead of getting hit by that, you get hit by an AK-47. You're still dead. You just take more hits to the body instead. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is going to be basically the same, but it's not going to do as much damage. So you actually do have to have maybe a little bit of aim if you're doing it on an ADC. If you're melee, this is probably negligible to you, like Ymir. So we'll see. Deathbringer, less damage, less crit, but increased critical strike damage. So this paired with Rage is going to be kind of crazy. I actually like this. Death Metal. No one built this card, but now it removes Strength and Intelligence as an aura. It provides an extra 50% critical chance to everybody and increase the attack speed from 20 to 25. These two cards with Rage could be very staple for crit builds. And you'll no longer have to build Demon Blade. Right? Because 4 crit items right now is probably not the best way to go. You're still going to need some kind of pen. You're still going to need some kind of way to deal with tanks. But these two with Rage is going to be actually insane. But these, again, attack speed, this, that, and the other. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Devos, same thing. Eros Bow. No one really used this card unless you were Cupid support or another ADC support. This isn't really that great of a card, but they did buff it. So maybe we'll start seeing this a little bit more. And maybe they nerfed Cupid because of this change. I don't know. Whatever. Eye of the Storm. Nobody built this card anymore. This is the card where It's an active that drains your health, I believe, but it slows everybody in a AoE around you. Removed physical protection, but more magical protection and more health, but removed physical protection. Why? I don't know how I feel about this change. Genji's buff comes off cooldown quicker by 10 seconds. It's still a 20-second cooldown, which is insane. Helm of Radiance. No one built this card, but buff. Nemean Lion. The passive effect has been removed. Active reflect effect has been increased from 30 seconds for 3 seconds to 40 seconds for 4 seconds, and decreased the cooldown by half. Again, why? But no one really built this card, so I can't really say this card is bad, but this is another one of those niche cards. This is one of those cards where it's like, the buff for it is nice. You're not going to be building it very often, but when you do build it, it's going to put in work. So I like this. I don't know about removing the passive effect, but I do like this. Jade Scepter. Active effect no longer debuffs enemy strength and intelligence, and you decrease cooldown by 20 seconds. I don't even know what this card does. I'll be 100% honest with you, so I'm not going to comment on it. Active effect change from firing a single arrow, dealing 130% of your basic attack damage to firing 3 arrows, each at slight delay that deal 60% of your basic attack damage each. Other effects remain unchanged. Okay, so they added another effect. Okay. Leviathan's Hide. This item no longer stacks twice, but instead has a new effect. Enemies who hit you with basic attacks lose 10 strength for 4 seconds, and you gain 1 max HP permanently. Oh no, this is funny. Oh no, this is funny. Oh no, this is actually hilarious. Cause Troll Thanatos with his aspect. You'll just gain health every time you take a hit. This is Bologna. Bologna would love this card. Okay. Who else? This could be a good support item, too, because you're going to be fighting into ADCs a lot. This card could be crazy. This card could actually be crazy now. Wait a minute. I can't wait for Monday. I need to test this. I cannot wait for Monday. I need to test that. That seems kind of crazy. Crap. Okay. So, Nimble Ring. Passive conversion increased from 2 basic attack damage and 2% attack speed for every 30 intelligence to 1 basic attack damage and 1% attack speed for every 10 intelligence. So this is technically a buff. Math. Just math. This is technically a buff. Because now, even though you get less basic attack damage and less attack speed, you gain more of it. You can get these stacks easier because the requirement to get them is lower by 20. So yeah, this is a buff. Yeah, this is a buff. This is huge. I like this. Pendulum Blade. Ooh. 4 seconds. 4 seconds? 4 seconds? Taken off. If you don't know what Pendulum Blade does, it is a strength item that when you activate it, it will take originally 3 seconds off your active cooldowns. 4 seconds? 4 seconds. 4 of them. 4 seconds. And you can get this faster. Hold up. No, absolutely not. And then, okay, this is Kins. This is what it used to be. Here's what it is. Your basic attacks deal bonus physical damage to gods with more health than you, equal to 10% of the difference in maximum health. Okay, so they didn't take the damage away from it, per se. The base stats are still the same, but this card is only going to do max damage to tanks. And it'll always do more damage if they have more health than you. This card is still kind of crazy. Here's my reasoning. Because cards like this will reward you for being behind. Why do I say that? Well, if you're 2, 3 levels behind, but you have kin size on, the enemy god that you're fighting into that does have more health than you is going to that is a higher level than you is going to have more health than you. So you, in turn, for being behind, you will do just as much damage as them. In theory, because they'll still be higher than you and still do more damage per se. But if you play right, this card can still help you from that deficit. And this is also still going to help you shred tanks as long as you play smart. So I'm not advocating for this card being bad. I actually really like this change. I could just see some problems with this in the future. So if they're going to commit to having this card only being made to hurt tanks, they should have also hit the damage on this card as well. That's just me. I think they also should have reduced the damage, the base damage on the card as well to make up for this honestly busted passive. 10%, that's fucking insane. So we'll see. It's rated edge. That's just a description buff, I guess. They just made it clear. Soul Gem, cheaper, less damage, increased damage off the bonus passive, and increased increased passive healing from 15 plus 5. Is this a typo? This seems oh no, wait. Because at 20, this gives 25. You have 40. No, wait. Math is mathing. I'm not gonna worry about it. Soul Reaver. Rework the passive. Enemy gods more. Okay, yeah, same thing. Same thing with Soul Reaver. Okay, Spirit Robe. When the passive triggers, you now also restore 6% of your maximum health over the next 6 seconds. Yeah. This and Leviathan's Hide? Hold up. Okay. Stone of Binding. Decrease physical protection from 40 to 30. Decrease magic protection. Passives. Enemy gods hit by your hard CC lose 5 physical protection and 5 magic protection, stacking up to 5 times. If you have 150 or more protections from items, apply the stack twice. Ooh, another card that benefits you for being tanky. Tank meta. Jesus. Transcendence, we already knew about that. And then Typhon's Fang, increase the passive healing, and then increase the intelligence multiplier by 0.05%. This is nice. Executioner, additional post P2. Okay, so these are extra stuff that wasn't in the PTS. Okay, let's see. Execution now applies piercing on successful basic attack. Piercing now reduces physical and magic protection by 6% per stack 4 times. So you can get a 24% protection reduction. Okay, now this makes more sense why they took dominance out the game. I apologize for my outburst. Yeah. One of Death now applies piercing to the targets. Piercing now reduces physical. Okay. Same thing with Totem of Death. Demonic Grip. Piercing. Same thing. These are T2, T1 items. Then just a bunch of changes. And then bug fixes. Okay. Overall, this pack seems really fun. I want to see what else they do with this. Thanks to everybody who decided to stick around, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.